Awesome. All right, we should be recording now. So we look at natural gas to basically kind of give us a quick prediction of where it's headed. So the one other link that we look at, it's this third link right here. This is always an important link. We're doing this pretty quick. This is the graph we want. Now, what I'll tell you is the reason we saw natural gas go get closer to $4 when we last met is because look at that blue line. It's finally, after a full year, it's finally got under that solid gray line, and that solid gray line is that 5-year average. We've used quite a bit of natural gas, but what's going on in the market right now is they're looking in the next week to 2 weeks, and they don't see much cold weather in our future, extreme cold weather. So it's gone down. This is normal. This is when they start withdrawing natural gas from the salt dome, from the salt dome, the pipelines. They're pumping like crazy because they've got to produce a lot of electricity. So this is pretty normal. So these are the three things we look at. This is the energy knowledge base. Those links are always right there. Always kind of take a look at natural gas and make sure you know where it is. All right. I always like to go over the commission plan. We're just going to take just a few minutes to walk over this. If this is your first time joining in, welcome. I'm going to jump over here to the comp plan, and I'm just going to pull open 1 or 2 slides. We're not going to look at them all. But what we do as brokers is we save people money off of electricity. And this is the presentation. We go through it in detail on the 10th of every month, but on the 20th and the 30th of the month, we kind of do just a quick review. But we should always understand what we get paid and how we get paid doing what we do. So we have 2 ways to build a business with Energy Ego. The first way is for you to become a broker. You are required to become a broker to get paid. It's a 3-4 page application. You sign it, we notarize it, we file it with a commission at 0 cost. There is no startup cost to do what we're doing. There's no website fee, there's no sign up fees, there's no hidden cost at all. I'll never ask you for a credit card to do this. So what we do as brokers is we go out there and get customers, and we save them money off their electricity bill. We bring them to electric providers. We're the middleman. And in return, what we get paid is 1 cent per kilowatt hour for every single one of those customers. So what we do here is we bring customers in. We get paid a penny per kilowatt hour on those customers. And there's a little caveat here. So your customer number 1 and all your customers, so your 7th customer and above, you're going to get a penny per kilowatt hour on every single one of those customers. It's a pretty lucrative deal. Well, there's a little bit of a gap here. So what happens with customers number 2 through 6? So that's 5 customers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we move to over here. And this is what we've referred to as the brokerage. This is our network customers. So when you recruit those next 5 customers, number 1, you get a penny. 2 through 6, you're going to get 0.2 cents. It's not quite a penny. That's 2/10 of a cent. And you ask why? Well, the reason we do this is we enable you to actually build a brokerage underneath you. So if you know someone that wants to become a broker or wants to do this as well, you can recruit them. They can become a broker. They can join these meetings. They can learn what we do. And you can actually commission off of 5 of their customers. And it's a trickle-down effect. So the more brokers that come in underneath you, you are sharing in their commissions for only 5 of their customers. And it's always going to be your customer payments 2 through number 6, 5 customers. We do this because you will be asked, I promise you, when you do this, you will be asked, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How can I do it? People will ask you. This is an easy thing to do to save people money on their electric bill. But we want to incentivize you as these brokers come in. You can refer them, you can bring them in, you can teach them, we can teach them. And as they come in, you can actually bonus off of or commission off of 5 of their customers. So again, we've got 2 businesses. We've got the broker business, which is what you're going to earn a penny per kilowatt hour on all your customers, except those 5. And then if you want to look at the compensation here, you can see how those that commission is broken out. Now, we'll tell you, every customer, residential customer we sign up has a penny per kilowatt hour on it. So when you look at that 0.2 cents, you can see you could get paid down to 5 levels. You can see 2, 1, 1, 2, 4. That totals a penny per kilowatt hour. And all we're doing is taking that penny for those 5 customers and breaking it out so you can get compensated on this. If you don't understand that, that's okay. There's a nice little calculator on here. You can follow this link. This is on our website. If you look at the calculator, it's pretty simple to understand if you're a visual person. The other item here I want to talk about is the commercial side. So there's 2 types of customers in Texas. There's the residential, there's the commercial. And this is kind of a nice segue into what we're going to talk about tonight. But on the commercial side, you can sign up commercial customers. We post these rates. It's called a matrix. That matrix, you can literally sign a contract today, and it can start for literally 2 to 3 years out if needed. So what we do from an automated side, as much as we can automate commercial, is we post the next 9 months rates. So if they're going to start in September of 2025, you can sign a contract today, but it won't start until September. That's how far you can go out online. Now, we sell contracts all the way from 1 month to 60 months. So a 1-month contract to 5 years. So if a customer wants to do a 2-year contract, great. They want to do a 3-year contract, great. A 5-year, you can kind of work with them. But inside that matrix, where those prices are, it's a table. That's what we mean by matrix. It's just a table of prices. We put 0.3 cents on there to start for your commission. The person that brought you into this, that referred you into this, your sponsor, broker, would get 0.1 cents. And then they're always going to get 0.1 cents. But you are able to negotiate your price up on commercial businesses if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. So we started at 0.3 is your start. If you want to go add 0.7 cents per kilowatt hour to get to a full penny, you can definitely do that. So this is negotiable. But your sponsor is always going to be stuck at a penny. This is pretty lucrative. So if you go out there and recruit some brokers that go after some commercial businesses, and you're really not doing a whole lot, but you're educating, helping your broker grow, and showing them how to do this. If you're earning 0.1 cents on some serious usage for commercial, that can add up pretty quick. So we do, in summary, we have residential, we have commercial. And what we're going to talk about tonight are delivery charges and demand charges. So I'm going to start with any questions. Let me see. I see some chats on here. Let me just check the chats. Okay, I see Tanya. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, Tanya, great question. Is that just for network customers or all commercial? So network customers are only tied to residential. Commercial is completely separate. And the reason why it's a great question, the reason why is because if we put a penny on every commercial deal, you're not going to win the deals, right? Commercial, a lot of usage. They like to shop more if they're going out and getting comparison. When you're trying to get a full penny per kilowatt hour on all those commercial deals, very difficult to win those deals at a penny per kilowatt hour for commercial. Does that help, Tanya? We're good? Okay, awesome. Okay. All right, so let's jump into, we're going to talk about demand charges first. Anyone know what demand charges are? Anyone want to take a guess? Good, because I don't know either. I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
I'm kidding. All right, so let's jump over to Energy Knowledge Base, and we're just going to click on demand charges here. And there's 2 things that I want you to know about demand charges. You got big customers, you got small customers. Generally, there's a threshold of 10 kW. And let's get into just some quick terminologies and some quick education on what we mean by this. So I'm going to open up an Excel sheet, and there are things that sometimes we get confused on. So we're going to talk about this. So we have a kW and we have a kWh. Okay. A kilowatt is a measurement for 1 unit. So for example, if I said that person uses 10 kWs, 10 kilowatt hours, that means that's 1 unit, 1 measurement. That's what they use for 1 interval. A kilowatt hour is the totals, kilowatt hours, think plural. So on our bills, someone uses 1,000 kilowatt hours on their bill, right? We all know this. Pretty simple. Mm-hmm. If they're paying 8 cents energy rate, you take the 1,000 kilowatt hours times 8 cents, and the energy charge is $80, right? Now the kW is a little different. This is a measurement for literally one period, and that's what I want to focus on tonight. So when we look at demand charges, you're going to ask me, what is that? So let me take you to how ERCOT calculates demand charges. So there is something called, and this will illustrate exactly what that KW means. ERCOT has something called a coincident peak. And a coincident peak means they're looking at 4 months, June, July, August, and September. These are the hottest months of the year in Texas. And what they'll do is they will go and look at every year's coincident peak. Then the question is what are those coincident peak? Oh, wait, I didn't want to click on that one. I want to click on this one. So we're going to go over here and you can see they posted this on November of 2024. This was November 2023, November 2022, November 2021. What that means is they're only looking at it one time per year. So let's open up this Excel file for this year. This was posted just a few months ago, back in November. And we're going to figure out what that KW means. So what happens is ERCOT will go, and if you've never seen this, this kind of gets interesting because it really dives into the market, the detail analysis of a customer. So keep in mind, they're looking at June, July, August, and September. Those are the 4 months they're looking at. And what ERCOT does is they look at the peak demand of the grid, which means when were people using the most power on the grid? And you can see in June, on June 30th at 5:45 p.m., that is when they took that KW measurement. And they wanted to go look at every single customer on June 30th, 2024. And they said, how many kilowatts was that customer using for that 15-minute interval? Not 1 hour. It's a 15-minute interval. They did it for July. So on July 1st, they did it for August, August 20th. They did it for September, September 20th. And you can see each one has a 15-minute interval on it. And what they do is they basically go and lock down the market. They're basically locking down the market for every single customer. And let me just kind of sort this so you'll see what this means. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to sort on column I. So let me do that real quick. And this will bring it down to, I want to sort the other way. Bear with me, largest. And what we want to do is we want to look at the market and say what was going on. So we know Encore, we know Centerpoint, we know AEP, we know Texas New Mexico Power, and we know Lubbock. Let me see, do I have them all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing. Who am I missing? AEP North. Those are the ones we want to focus on. And the reason why we focus on these is because this is the deregulated market that we serve. So they're going to go in, and I'm going to hide these just so, you know, we have a little easy. And I do this on purpose, guys, so you guys kind of see the analysis that kind of goes into this. And it's a walk to it instead of me just kind of giving you the numbers. You kind of see how they get to this. But if you look at these numbers, in ERCOT, the deregulated side of Texas accounted for 72.1% of the market. Everything left, you'll notice, is the cities, it's the co-ops, it's, you know, municipalities. There's maybe some other stuff in here, but those are basically what the rest is. Now, what I will tell you is they went and looked at every single customer, commercial customer, and they took a snapshot of the peak interval. This is both for small and large commercial customers. Though there you go, right there. It's no secret. Now, the large commercial, the ERCOT's got to release this. This is a kind of a state mandatory item. They do it every single year. So what happens is they go and lock down this period, and they look at every C&I customer. So if they're above about 10 kW, what they do is they put them in the 4CP demand calculation. And for example, I'm going to go look at this, and I'm going to give you an example. So bear with me. Let me pull this up. I'm dragging this over. We've got a customer. So this customer, they went and looked at a period. Now this period's April through May. So we know this is a smaller customer. It's not that big of a customer. And what they did, you can see in yellow here, they calculated the demand for that customer. That customer used 21 kilowatt hours for one 15-minute interval. That 21, because this is a smaller customer, that 21 will actually be used for the demand charges for that month. Now, if it's a large customer above 10 kW, they're essentially going to use what they call 4CP. And that's what you get into the averages here. So they take these 4 intervals, they average them, and let's just say a customer comes up to and they're using 85 kW. That 85 kW is going to be used for all of next year's demand charges. Okay. The whole, to sum this up in a nice little pretty picture, is if you know and can predict these dates when the peak is at its max, what do you think you should do if you're a commercial customer? Decrease your usage, right? That you do not want to be using a lot of power during these intervals. That is the peak demand of the grid. And if you get caught and you have everything running during the peak demand of the grid, what's going to happen next year's demand charges for your business?
They're going to have that charge on every bill next year.
Every bill next year. And that's how they pay for the grid. To sum it all up is, how do you pay for the grid? You'll notice that most commercial customers have high demand charges. It's because they don't understand this. It's very difficult to understand, and it's very difficult to predict the usage. Look at the times: 5:45, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock. That's at 4 o'clock. If you're a grocery store, if you're a production facility, and you've got people that are working at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you don't go over there and turn off the power, and you're at their peak usage because you're running your air conditioners, you're running your freezers, you're basically just has everything going, you're going to pay for it next year. That's really essentially how demand charges are calculated. So when you get a commercial bill and you look at this demand number, that you really want that demand number to be as low as possible. Someone asked me last week, well, Drew, this doesn't make sense. How did they use 1,680 kilowatt hours? Let me just show you real quick. And I'm going to do some quick math here. So you should still see my screen, but I'm looking at the usage. The meter read was 5944. You can see the previous meter read was 5923. So I'm going to put 5923 here. And all I'm going to do is do the math, and I'm going to subtract it. And you can see that right there, make sure I get it right. You can see that they're calculating the 21 right there. That's not the demand charge, though. Don't get confused. This is the meter read. This is the usage read. This is just by coincidence. But then you say, well, wait a minute. They billed me for 1,680 kilowatt hours. You see this meter multiplier here? If you've never seen this on a bill, this is new. I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it. You see that meter multiplier? The reason they do meter multipliers is because if they don't, these numbers, these meter reads get too big, too long. So what ERCOT does, or the delivery companies do, is they came up with a system to create a multiplier. So all you do is take 80 times 21, and you get the 1,680 kilowatt hours. That's how they know how to bill you your usage. This is just coincidence that 21 matches that demand of 21. This 21 is that 15-minute interval that customer was using. Now what happens is that eventually gets passed through over here, and you'll see it. It'll say Encore Electricity Delivery Pass-Through. Some providers will break out demand charges over here. Most will not. They throw it all in one lump sum, Encore Electricity Delivery Pass-Through, and you can see right here, $231. Now, this is what's crazy about this bill, and I like this one as a great example. Look how much they're paying for energy. 5.8 cents. Now, this is an example, but in this example, which was a real example in 2020, you can see that it was $97.44. But look at those Encore delivery pass-through, $231.81. Guys, this is very, very common for commercial locations. They penalize commercial on purpose. And the reason why is because what do most commercial companies do? They turn everything on at 7:30. They turn everything off at 6:30, and they're gone for the night. Well, who pays for the grid from 7 p.m. all the way to about 6 p.m.? You can't make residential customers pay for that whole period, right? It wouldn't make sense. So the way they're doing this is they basically make commercial pay for really their 24 hours that they would use it. So I had one person a while ago explain to me it's like driving on a tollway, or it's like doing a water line. You know, you may not be using that tollway 24/7, right? But if you decide to drive on that tollway during going to work at 7:30 in the morning to 8, or you're trying to go home at 5 to 6 o'clock, you're driving at the peak time, right? Well, you still have to pay for that road to be there, right? You just don't get the liberty of using the road for 1-2 hours and only paying for it then. You got to pay for the full 24/7. That is essentially what they're doing for commercial companies. They make them pay quite a bit. It's not cheap to get electricity for commercial building, but that is how you look at a commercial invoice when you're looking at usage. Always focus on that meter multiplier. Look for the demand charges. They're on there. If you're talking to a customer, you can help them lower this, and you can tell them, hey, what you really want to do is have more level usage rather than very peaky usage. Because if you come back over to these times and you decide to start using power at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and you're super peaky, which most people are because that's when the air conditioner is running, that is going to cost them for not just this month, but all of next year. Does that make sense? Hopefully I gave a very simple, I tried to keep it as simple as I could. This does get complicated. Tanya, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask because I recently signed up my realtor friend with the small trucking company, but I'm gonna try to get her realtor office as well.
Oh, Tanya, you froze.
Yeah. I'm up there.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you now. You're gonna have to repeat
Okay.
it.
Okay, yes, okay. So on my realtor friend, basically I need to let her know in June, July, August, September, those are the days that she needs to be shutting down her realtor office by 4 o'clock during
Yeah.
those months in order to get that multiplier down.
Yeah, they're it's not the multiplier. It's
Or
just the
the
demand. Yeah, it's just the demand calculation. Yeah. The
okay.
idea behind it is if you can decrease your load during the peak times and have more of a smooth out load, you will decrease your demand charges. They'll come down. It's hard. I mean, that's one thing because you tell people it's 105 degrees outside they need to turn their air conditioner up to 85 degrees to cut the electricity off for 30 minutes to an hour. It's tough. But if they're looking to decrease demand charges, the answer is yes. Yes. So it's tough. I will tell you, it's interesting. I mean, you can see 71%, 72% comes from the deregulated side. We use the most electricity in the entire state of Texas. So it's quite a bit of load during these times to decrease usage. The interesting thing is there's companies out there that will actually do this prediction for you. Sadly, they're always going to be wrong. And let me tell you why. If July 1st, what are the odds that they predicted July 1st, the first day of the month at 5 o'clock to be the peak of the month? The first day of the month. What about the other 31 days of July? You would think that they probably thought there's going to be a hotter day as you get closer to August, not the very first day of July. So they probably would have got this wrong. And if you get it wrong, there's no going back. They're still going to take this day, this time, this interval to record it. The same thing with these others, August and September. You can make a good prediction, but you really can't predict when the peak point of the grid is for each one of these months. So it's tough. You can pay for services, but I'll be candid, there's really no sure way to do this until ERCOT releases it. And again, they release it in November of every year. The other thing I'm going to go back to is I'm going to go back to the knowledge base is, read through this. I tell you, this knowledge base has a lot of information. If you're looking just to learn vocabularies, it's some pretty interesting stuff, how to reduce demand charges. Some of this is pretty common sense, to be very honest. Decrease your HVAC, scheduling. If you want to, get in there and, program the thermostat for commercial building, you can do that, decrease it from 4 o'clock. If you've ever been inside a grocery store about 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood in the middle of summer, you will notice that they will decrease all their lights in that building. If you're there at the peak times, the reason they do this is they're trying to predict to their best of their ability this 4CP event, because it's a huge savings, not just for one grocery store, but think about all the grocery stores they have all over Texas. So when you go in a building and they've decreased their lights, they've turned off lights for a few hours, or they've dimmed them, this is really the reason why. They're really focusing on those utility demand charges for not just that month, but for all of next year. I'm going to jump over into this real quick, and I'm going to do a quick Google, and I'm going to show you real quick CenterPoint. I did this earlier, so let me show you, if you haven't looked at delivery charges, and demand charges are on here as well. But this is what CenterPoint filed, and then you always need to scroll down and look to see when it's released. Bear with me. So this one was released August 11th of 2024. Okay, so this is the most recent one. They come out really every 6 months to a year is when they release them. Anytime they're changing the tariffs, you'll see a new one come out. But if I just take a simple search and search for demand and hit continue, look how often demand shows up in this sheet. Now, what I will tell you, this is 361 pages. It takes I think a law degree or a PhD to understand all the tariffs, demand charges, delivery charges that go into this. There's all types of customers in the market, and keep in mind this is just CenterPoint. We're not even talking about the other delivery companies. But if you look at the demand charges, there's quite a bit of definitions in here. You could go through here and take a look at most of these. What I wanted to show you, I think, was page 87. Let me get there real quick. Let me jump over. And I just wanted to show you how they calculate it. Right here, peak demand requirement. So CenterPoint, if you've got customers there, and Encore is pretty much the same too, but this is that measurement that if the current month is 10 kVA, this is amperage. If it's a 100% efficient market, this is equal to 10 kW. That's essentially what it means. So if you're 10 kW or less, they're going to take the 15-minute period of the highest demand, and that's how they're going to calculate it. And you can see for any of the previous 11 months. So they're all running pretty much the same. They define this. You could jump into this and look at all 361 pages and look at all 160 references. I don't encourage it because I don't even understand it all, to be very candid. The answer that I generally give to customers is, hey, these are CenterPoint charges. These are basically approved by the Texas Public Utility Commission. There is nothing we can do about the rates. If you wanted to scroll down, and let me come down here, and just randomly, I'm going to come down here and look at some rates. Let's see if we can find them real quick. You'll notice as you kind of come down here, oh, I tell you, you can always find it when it's there, but I don't see it right now. In here, you'll see all the rate cases, and I don't see them right now, but you have to randomly find them. You'll start seeing the fees and everything they charge. What we do as brokers is we roll up all these fees. Here you go. So if you want to find out how much does a move-in cost, now keep in mind, this is for an AMS M meter. And if you've ever talked to me about AMS smart meters, M stands for manual. It's a manual meter read, which means they got to physically go out there to read the meter. They got to physically go out there to turn it on, turn it off. That's a manual meter read. If it's an R, that means they do it remotely. So if you ever call me and ask me, hey, Drew, how much does it cost to install a meter? We got to go look up to see what type of meter it is first. And then we can look at the cost, $192, $144. If it's already there, you can see $465. There's all these different type of charges. This is for a priority move-in. You can see $150 for self-contained. But if it's at a transformer, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, $224. Let me scroll up because as you kind of look through this document, if you ever get bored, feel free to do it. But there's a ton of information in here and a ton of prices in here. And it all depends on, is it weekend? Is it holiday? Is it a reconnect? Is it a disconnect? All different types of prices. Disconnections, $34, $99. So there's a lot of information here. 361 pages of tariffs and rates that are published every 6 months to a year. Now, what we do as brokers, we're trying to simplify this for customers, and electric providers do the same thing. So what we do, I'm going to pivot from demand charges to delivery charges. And what I want to show you is under Texas, what we have and what we put together is a graph, and it's a nice little graph that you can share with your customers that walks you through the delivery charges. And I love this tool. It answers a lot of questions for customers when they complain about their bill. And let's just go look at AEP North as an example. And you can see there's two types of delivery charges for AEP. There's a per kilowatt hour cost and a monthly cost. And you'll notice this is a 4-year look back of where the charges have been. And we have a lot of people complaining about their bill because of delivery charges. They're up 30, 40%, guys. The increases have been big for delivery charges over the last few years. And this graph, I will take a screenshot. I'll take a picture of this graph many times and send it to customers. And they say, look, this is nothing we control as brokers. Electric providers don't even control this. There's nothing we can do about this. These are from the delivery companies, and the PUC approves them. And if they approve them, we get charged them. Every customer gets charged these bills, residential side and commercial side. Let me show you, AEP is not an exception. Look at Encore. You see what's happened to Encore. They've gone up quite considerably. If you want to just look at the per kilowatt hour, I mean, you can see that it was averaging 3.5 cents for a few years. It dropped down for 1 6-month period down to 2 cents and immediately jumped to 5 cents. It's a pretty big increase right there. If you wanted to look at the per unit cost, this is the monthly fee that Encore charges. It was $3.42. Well, today it's $4.23, if I remember right. So every provider, sadly, if you look at this, there's TNMP right there. Let's look at CenterPoint. We already looked at AEP and see CenterPoint. Lubbock is an exception. Lubbock is new. You got to forgive them because I don't think they knew what they were doing. But what you see here is look at their base charge. They don't charge a base charge in Lubbock for delivery charges. This is a big mistake on their part. They're eventually going to learn their lesson, because think about every light pole that doesn't use electricity. Think about every shed or barn that doesn't use a lot of kilowatt hours. They miss out on a lot of revenue because they don't have a base charge. They will change this eventually. They'll learn. If you look at their usage per kilowatt hour, they're essentially at 6.5 cents. I will tell you, in Lubbock, there's a lot of customers unhappy with deregulation. It's not a surprise, because when they deregulated this, Lubbock was actually doing all utilities, water, electricity, sewer, trash, all that good stuff on one bill. Where the minute they carved out the electricity, they now have to factor in a completely different rate case because electricity is completely separate, but they still have to pay for their people that are there. They can't use energy anymore to offset anything. They can't use billing charges because all the Lubbock is now deregulated and coming from a electric provider, just like the rest. A lot of Lubbock people aren't happy. They've seen significant rates increases on the delivery. I kind of always like looking at all. And if you look at the per kilowatt hour, let's just look at the units. You can kind of see where everyone is across the delivery companies. Everyone's gone up. It makes you wonder if they colluded, right? Because why did they all go down? And then why are they all going back up at the exact same time? It makes you wonder, if somehow they're working together, but they have to pay for trucks. They have to pay for copper. They got to pay for steel. They got to build the infrastructure. They got to pay for new smart meters. That's why they charge these delivery costs to all customers. So when a customer gets their bill, And let me take you to the last item here that we're going to walk through. And let me just open up this bill right here as an example. I think it's a rhythm bill. And let me bring this over. Rhythm Energy, a company that's been around for probably 6 years now. Let's go to the second page because that's where the guts of this is. You can see that on this bill, you can see they're paying 8.6 cents for energy. There's 3 components to the bill. You've got the energy side, then you have the delivery side, and you can see they put Encore beside it. They're charging $4.23 per month. We just saw that for Encore. And then the delivery charge per kilowatt hour, $99.73. And then the remainder of the bill are your taxes. So if you're new to this, there's always 3 components to your bill: energy, delivery, taxes. The only thing we can work with on the broker side, the electric provider, the only thing we set are these energy rates. That's what we sell. That's what we use to save customers money. Nothing we can do with delivery or taxes. They are what they are. I'm going to point to one last thing. We're all given a website, and I'm going to jump over to a website, and I'm going to look at one thing just as a refresher. Let's go pull up an AEP zip code. Make sure I get one, 79605. I'll hit check rates. So the question that may come up is, well, how do I know what my delivery charges are? They're always going to be published on an EFL, an electricity facts label. Every provider is required to publish one. We went through this last meeting, but just as a kind of reminder, I'll pick this APGE one 6-month product. There is a YouTube video that you can go look at EFLs in detail, but you can always look at the delivery charges as a separate line item for these products. You can see right here, they're charging 5.76 cents per kilowatt hour for those delivery charges, and they're charging $3.21 as a monthly fee on the delivery charges. So delivery charges, in summary, you'll see demand charges for commercial. These are residential EFLs. Demand is always passed through. No retailer is going to want to, try to predict those costs. So they always will pass it through on a bill. But in summary, what you need to remember when you're talking delivery to a customer is 2 things. Number 1, we don't control it. We don't set those. And number 2, they're expensive right now. And your bills have gone up because we've seen 30-40% increases. These will be reset in about 2 months. They're reset every 6 months. The PUC about a year and a half ago gave permission to the delivery companies to change them more than twice a year. They used to be only twice a year. When the inflation hit and delivery companies started losing money, the PUC gave them an option to now change them, I think, up to 2 to 3 times more per year. So they now can change them, I think, 4 to 5 times a year if needed. But again, they got to go to the PUC to get consent. They can't just change it because they want to change it. All right. I know it's a lot. Your head's probably exploding because if you've never played with delivery charges, they're foreign, but just keep in mind, we don't control them. We control the energy charge. That's what we're trying to save customers money on. So I'm going to kind of stop there and really open it up for questions. I don't expect everyone to remember this. It's one of those things, if it comes up, what can you do? Melba, tell me.
Call you.
Call me. Call me. So we will look at the bill. We'll get the customer on the phone if we needed. We will walk through it. You and me as the broker. We'll get an education. I promise you, when you deal with a real world example, it's much easier to understand it. Much easier. So call me. Don't not call me. Melba?
I'm dreaming big, and I was bold on Sunday to ask one of the pastors about their electricity bill
Yeah.
because they have this campaign that they want to, do renovations and stuff like that, and they want people to give. So I figured, you know what? I'm an electricity broker, and I'm licensed, and I can, compare your bill and see what we can do for you. And whatever that I make, that's my contribution for the building project. And
Awesome.
so it's big. It has a school. It's Bethesda Christian School and Bethesda Ministries and all that stuff. So I may be giving you a call soon because I am
Awesome.
pursue it. You
Awesome.
know, uh,
Awesome. I always say get a copy of the bill. That's the key.
yes,
You got to
I
get a copy of
know.
the bill to understand what they're paying, what they're doing. Awesome. Congratulations.
We'll see.
Good story. Good story. Hey, look, it's you may not get the commercial building, you may get it, which would be exciting, but you basically have told them what you're doing. And keep in mind they use electricity in their residential homes as well. That's what I always remind people of. I will tell you, if you're good at commercial, it always moves into the residential side because they always want you to help out on the residential side because you're already doing the commercial. So use that to your advantage. Awesome. All right, guys, questions, comments, thoughts. This
Do
is
you
always a tough one to go through, but
think that the drill baby drill is going to change our market, and also the conversation about free energy that is available?
Mhm.
Because I believe that, we may have like a window of opportunity where we can see some of that happen. But I think that people are just lulled by, these big companies that do whatever they want to do. And we have, like you just said, there's nothing we can do about, the delivery. Well, I mean, what can we do? We have to have the electricity. So it's like we are deregulated, but we are regulated, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a hybrid. Texas, if you've been in the industry long enough, I will tell you, Texas is by far the best deregulated state. When you get up in the northeastern states, it gets a little bit more of a challenge because the electric providers don't even control the billing. I'm not even sure if you know that or not, but they have monopolies. The utility actually does all the billing for the customers. And the electric companies, when it's deregulated, they have to give the rate to the utility company, and the utility company will actually do the billing. Imagine if the companies we use had to give the rates to Encore, AEP, TNMP, CenterPoint, and Encore, CenterPoint, TNMP, AEP, they did all the billing. And our electric companies didn't do any of the billing. They didn't do a call center. That's what it's like in the northeastern states. They have a very interesting way of deregulating the market. But what I will tell you, there's 9 to 10 million meters out there. I need to go verify that. When Lubbock came on, they added a lot of meters, but there's close to 10 million meters out there. There is plenty of business to go around in Texas. So you're right, Melba. I mean, there's bigger electric companies out there that are offering some interesting products. They're going to sell them because of their name. But I will tell you, we switch some of those customers all the time because they sell some gimmick rates, tiered rates. So Don, you mentioned one earlier about 13, 14 cent rates or whatever. No, it's higher than that. It was like 17 cents or 15 cents, whatever she said. But there's markets out there. Just got to get out there and save them some money. All right. Any questions, comments, thoughts about anything? Does that have to be about delivery or demand? Bilal, nice to see you. I see you popping in. Angie, I see you. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Welcome. I know this call is always an interesting one because demanding delivery is tough, but it's not as fun as some of the other ones we get to talk to. But we do revisit this one every probably 2 to 3 months because it's important to remember what it is. So come back next time. Don't get bored of this one. Promise. All right. Well, look, if there's no questions, no comments, go out there and get them. I will tell you, prices I think are gonna be attractive for a little bit longer. It's funny. I was looking at TXU's website today. I looked at Ambit's website today. Guys, we still beat them. We're still cheaper than 85% of the market out there. We're cheaper than Reliant. We've got some great rates. All you got to do is get out there, ask for those customer bills, and prove to your customers you can save them money. You know, let the facts speak for themselves. We want to help people out. We're in that service. If there's no questions, we're good to go. All right.
Thanks, Drew. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for joining, and we will reconvene on the 10th of next month. They're 10th, 20th, 30th. If you got any questions, call me, text me, and we will talk soon. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Bye-bye. Good night.
Right.
Later.
Bye.